Everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Pokemon Crystal. This is turn 3, Ecruteak City. Let's jump into things. So we've got 3 battles here. This was a very risky turn for us. It's entirely possible that I'm assuming we win at least one of these. We might lose all 3. Who knows? So let's start off. Battle number 1 in Lilidor. So this is the battle with our god, Casper, and his 6 Gengars. He is up against not too much, in fairness. So the beauties can be a bit of a problem because they are priests, so they can spam out banishments, which will destroy our ghosts. And the Yanmas hit really hard with their Bug Buzz, right? This messes up ghosts pretty bad. But let's see what happens. There's not a whole lot going on in this fight, so we're gonna do it kind of speedily. We got some banishments going out, right? Our god has defaulted to casting Animate Skeleton. Well, we have him Animated Skeleton. Now he defaults to casting it continuously. Animate Dead. And that's pretty much it, honestly. So this is why I actually kind of like this Pretender chassis for expansion. More often than not, the battle doesn't even get to him. With these 6 Gengars, these guys are pretty good. They have Invulnerability 25, they have Fear, they have Ethereal, they have Invisible, so they're deceptively tanky even at only 16 hit points. And they pack a decent wallop themselves with their Shadow Punch, right? Nightshade is not great, but is what it is. It's armor negating. Anyways, so I think we have different attacks. Yeah, so these ones have Shadow Ball, right? So, and Shadow Ball is a pretty nice move as well. So so this is just kind of a very effective force, and with Casper spamming out Skellybums, basically Long Dead, it tends to be able to handle a lot of things. So very easy victory for us on that. Very good. Okay. Next up we have the Sea of Woe. So this is our significantly smaller force than we had intended moving into the Sea of Woe. Alright, so we've got our Starmie Riders and then our batch of Ghastlies in the back versus a bunch of Swimmers. And the Swimmers are whatever. They're kind of crap in and of themselves. A useless kick, as you can see. And then they have Goldings, which honestly are not a very big deal. They do not have a ranged attack, and this Horn attack really isn't that strong. They're very low HP. So let's watch what happens. So it's hard to see, but the Starmies are actually Psy-waving. So you'll see this this little, because there's no particle effect that travels, it just appears on the targets. So this beam, or this little cloud, that's the Starmie Riders Psy-waving. And then as soon as the Goldings actually get here, the thing about it is they have a spear, right? So they immediately just launch into a wave of attacks, and they're relatively decently protected. 14 protection's not too bad, 14 defense skills, not too bad. So the Goldings come in and basically just get crushed. And then afterwards, the Swimmers come in and also basically get crushed. Very good. None of our Starmies even get popped, right? When the Starmie Rider loses its hit points, it turns into just a Starmie, and it'll continue fighting. So this was another very solid win for us. 0 losses. Very good. Then we have a battle in Wesh. Alright, and this is our starting army, basically. So we have a group of Ghastlies that have Shadow Ball and Lick, and then we have a group of Ghastlies that have Lick. So we've got Invulnerability, 15, and Ethereal, right? Basically the situation. Up against a relatively small force. The problem is these Rhyhorns hit very hard. They hit hard enough to kind of move past the invulnerability, right? And they're just very tanky. So let's watch what happens. So our ranged Ghastlies kind of run out in front, and this was a screw up on my part. I would rather the ranged Ghastlies survive than the non-ranged versions, right? Because the non-ranged versions only have Lick, whereas the ranged versions have Lick and Shadow Ball, and I would rather them upgrade. So I need to alter that. I don't know that I actually did. I've already sent this turn in, by the way, because I ran out of time on things. So the Rhyhorns come in and they start to trample around, and the thing about it is so actually we don't have to worry about their powerful attacks because they're trampling, but the trample is bad enough because the Ghastlies only have 4 hit points. So it only takes a few tramples to kill a Ghastly regardless. Okay? So that is an issue. And then the Rhyhorns themselves are very tanky, so it takes a long time to get one down. It's a bad mixture. However, I think it might be off of the back of just luck or enough words of power that we do kill the Rhyhorns, and I think it's basically because the Rhyhorns count as so much HP, because the Caterpies are only 5 HP. The Rhyhorns count as so much HP each that killing off the Rhyhorns makes the Caterpies flee. I think we would have killed the Caterpies anyways, but I think if they'd stuck around to fight, we would have lost a few more. But as it is, we end up losing 22 Ghastlies in Wesh. And actually, truth be told, this is the kind of attrition that I expect in most of our expansions with Ghastlies. Now, once we get up to like Haunters and things like that, if we get up to Haunters and things like that, small indies are way easier to just demolish. But Ghastlies are just so low hit point wise that there's just massive amounts of attrition when expanding with them. Even though they're ethereal, even though they're... Let's check. Look in on this again, right? Like, they have invulnerable 15, which is basically like 15 protection. That's decently high protection for a unit like this. They're ethereal, they're invisible, right? So melee attackers have a -10 against them. They have a sleep aura, etc., right? Like, these things, again, should be deceptively tanky, and they are. It's just they have so few hit points that they get popped. They get popped by trample, they get popped by anything that has magic weapons. None of these have magic weapons, but anything that has, like, Yanmas, like 5 Yanmas would kill this entire army. Easy. Because every single time they shoot, they're killing a Ghastly. So those 5 Yanmas would go, oh, 5 dead, 5 dead, 5 dead, 5 dead, 5 dead. Yeah. So. And then we had an unexpected unexpected event occur in Ecruteak City. An unusual amount of pearls have been washed up on the beach. Some gleam with otherworldly luster. 16 astral pearls, and potentially more important, 200 gold. This is a windfall for Ecruteak City this early on in the game. Absolutely. It has given us a crazy amount of money compared to what we should have, and that is very, very big news. All right, so what are we doing this turn? It's turn 3. We have 4 provinces. That's great. That's absolutely fantastic. That's only fantastic, though, if we can continue to expand. Rapid expansion is kind of the name of the game for Ecruteak. It's kind of the Urmor, Celeria, Asphodel kind of concept. Very much the Asphodel kind of concept. Although Asphodel, you can kind of like make a case for turtling and keeping your dominion low, because you tend to take growth, so it takes longer for your land to die. Not as much with Ecruteak City. Your land's gonna die pretty quickly. Okay, so this turn, we are going to try to keep that momentum going with a couple of risky plays. Again, kind of just being overly risky. So we're attacking into Shambolic, okay? We're attacking into Shambolic with Casper versus Paris, Caterpies, and Hoot Hoots. And we're attacking specifically here. I would rather go to Second Forest, but Shuckles and Snubbles have a higher chance of beating me. Paris, Caterpies, and Hoot Hoots should be a relatively easy victory for us, which is just additional income in the bag and expansion in the bag, right? Also, what I'm trying to make sure to do is to not get destroyed by bumps. So this is very important. This is going to be turn 4, right? And in theory, someone could be right here. However, if they didn't expand on turn 1, which is likely for most people, right? Then turn 2, they might have been here. Turn 3, they might have been here, right? Or sorry, so it's not here. So turn 1 they wouldn't have expanded. Turn 2 they expanded into here, right? Or could have expanded into here. I'm saying that again. It's the way that it gets said. So turn 2 they would have sent orders to attack here. They would have been here on turn 3. It is turn 3. That's what I'm trying to establish. Jeez. So it's very unlikely that anyone's in Donnermark. Very unlikely that anyone's in Donnermark. And this is a throne, so it's very unlikely that anyone's in the throne. So this should be a safe take for me. Okay? That's probably going to be a lot of what Casper does in the near future, is trying to make sure that if he's taking something, he's taking it in a safe fashion. If we bump and he dies, it's game over, basically. There are some scenarios, right? Like in my Tetragrammaton game, which may or may not be out at this point, but in that game, I lost my god very early on. But that god was 1, immortal, and 2, even if he wasn't immortal, I was so I could call my god back way easier than something like this. In this type of scenario, it would be very difficult for me to get my god back, and without my god, we're basically fucked. So we're attacking into Shambolic. Should be an easy win for us. Should be a safe win for us. Done. What is not as easy and safe is what's going on elsewhere. So the Starmie Riders performed very well, actually. And I had a decision here. I really want Goal Amrod. I could have sent the Starmie Riders into Goal Amrod and just taken 2 provinces this turn. I'm trying to be very, very greedy. But what I decided to do instead was to send Weldon, Togrulbeg, and Podro with 16 units, 30 units, and 17 units into Goal Amrod. The Rattatas should be no problem, and my hope is that it's mostly Rattatas. Pidgeys, I think, do actually have a magic attack, so they can kill me, but they are also relatively low HP and relatively low protections, so I'm hoping I can trade with them fairly well. Farfetcheds are problems, and if there's too many of them, we're going to get obliterated. So last turn it showed that there were like 60 here. This turn it shows that there's like 30 here. I'm, again, hoping that that's mostly Rattatas, and if it is, and there's between 30 and 60, so around 45, we might be able to win out in Goal Amrod. If not, I'm hopeful that we will kill off enough of the independents there that we'll be able to take it shortly. And then I'm hoping that, and I think this is probably gonna not work, but I think that the Starmie Riders are actually deceptively strong with the multiple attacks that they have and the Psy Wave being relatively strong underwater. Very high precision attack. It's very unlikely that it's gonna miss, right? But it does magic resistance negate. So it should hit about every time, but if they pass a save, you know, not going to do anything. But with basically the hope is that these things are dangerous enough that a small group of them is going to be able to take small c. I think that that's actually unlikely. I think that they're likely to be repulsed. So, but if we are lucky, it will be turn 4, and we will have 7 provinces. And why I want to do that, why I want to be very aggressive right now, is if I get lucky, I can be more cautious about my expansion as we go, right? If we get very lucky and we have 7 provinces by turn 4, then I can take my time with some of the other kind of more questionable choices that we have. And I don't have to rush as much, right? Because at that point, I'm ahead of the curve, so that if I don't have good options going forward, I don't have to pressure it. I can take an extra turn and still not be behind the curve. That's the general game plan. I don't know that it's going to work, honestly. Like, I think we're likely to lose here in Gol Emerald. I'm betting it's going to be closer to 60 than it is going to be to 30. And too many Pidgeys and too many Farfetch'ds are going to cause us problems. We're going to lose a lot of Ghastlies. But I think we'll lose, but I think we'll probably do a lot of damage to Gol Emerald, and then be able to take it in the next turn, or take it with our god, or something like that. I think we're just going to get wiped in Small C, but I looked at Tentacles. Tentacles, I think, are bad news bears. But I looked at Tentacles, and I wasn't impressed. So I think there's the possibility that, with luck, our Starmie Riders just route them really early. And we should be fine as far as Casper goes. In Ecruteak City, we're actually recruiting a white Channeler, Astral Mage, okay? And in Wesh, we are actually recruiting, potentially, someone. This is Bill, okay? And Bill is an interesting mage that comes with some EVs and some experience, I believe. And if we get lucky and we grab him and no one else does, we might be able to either use him for some additional assistance on expansion, or what is potentially more likely, he should come with some fire magic, which is something that we do not have. So I might, for a very cheap cost, mind you, 30 gold is super cheap, even for me, and I have very little money, right? But 30 gold is super cheap to be able to start site searching very early for something that we could potentially then boost into or get utilized in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Whether that's through trade, whether that's, you know, sending it to people to forge us things, whether that's boosting, whether we luck into other indies. There are plenty of options for that. And that's about it. So, not a crazy involved turn, but we are kind of like being very risky on a couple of different things. We'll see how it goes. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.